What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing well. It's a bright and sunny afternoon here in Vancouver. I wanted to come on live really quickly. First of all, to mention all the new members that have joined the Facebook group. If you're not a part of the Facebook group, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can find this in the description. We've got a lot of people on here, and the aim of this group here is to give you as much information as possible, as much inspiration, as much tools, as much advice as you need to get your coaching business off the ground. And when I mean off the ground, I mean to make you enough money where it gets your attention. Not a couple of $100, not $50 an hour, $100 an hour, none of that stuff. Some real money where you're like, I'm making more money here than I'm making in my job. Maybe I should give this thing more attention. That is what my intention is with this group. Today, I want to discuss a topic about how long it should take you to get a client to come through the door. Now, one of the people I was talking to earlier today in the morning, they asked me this. Listen, I'm going through 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different calls with a client, and my program is like a couple of $100 or whatever. How long should it take me to get the sale? How long till I pull the trigger, tell them the price, all of that stuff? I get this question quite often because everybody wants to make money and they want to make money fast. They want to get more clients to the door faster. What I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate the different ways where you can implement a 1-call strategy, 2-call strategy, 5, 10-call strategy, however long it might be, and just see which ones are more effective, okay? There's no clear-cut answer because some people, they have their back against the wall. They need to make money now, it's sell or die, that kind of thing, so your situation might vary. I'm a big believer in relationship building, and you'll see with my approach of how I approach my enrollment process, how long it takes me to get people to the door. Okay, so let's just open up my visualizer here. I'll explain the sales cycle. So let's talk about your business. Okay, so let's say you have a coaching business and you want to figure out how long does it take me from the first time that I've ever interacted with this person to when I receive money from them. How long should that cycle take? You'll have some people say, well, they'll go through a funnel, they'll download this PDF, they'll go to the webinar, blah, blah, all those different things. Don't get lost in the mechanics of those. Just try to worry about what is the purpose of that activity. A lot of the reasons why we have the PDF, why we have the webinars, why we have these different calls is to build trust and credibility, okay? So if you know that the purpose of these things is to build trust and credibility, that you are an expert, you know what you're talking about, and just to get them to know a little bit more about you, then you can kind of break apart and see how many touch points do I need with people before trust and credibility is built. Now, one of the main things that I get from my clients is every time that they get on a call with someone, they feel like they have to sell everybody on the first call. So let's say you've reached out to someone on LinkedIn and you want to talk about your coaching service. You get them on a phone. You talk to them for, I think the average that most people get on a phone is for anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes. And this will be your consultation call or your discovery call or whatever you want to call it. And you'll get on the call with them and you'll do a 15, 30-minute consultation. And then you'll say, well, my program is between 1,000, 5,000 or whatever it might be. And then you'll start getting I want to think about it. I'll let you know. I got to check my finances. I want to make sure that all the stars are in line. I got to check my horoscope. Then I'll let you know. All those different things come up and they don't buy from you. And I can see, especially with new coaches, because they're so desperate to sell to anyone and everyone who gets on the call with them, they follow the 1-call close approach quite fast. Why does the 1-call approach not work as well? Right? The reason it doesn't work is, again, because there isn't enough trust built. There isn't enough credibility. Think about it. Let's say someone reached out to you and you got on the phone with them. You have no idea who they are. You don't really know much about their business. You don't even know if you like this person yet. You get on the phone with them. You talk to them for 15 minutes. Do you think you're ready to shell out $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 without any sort of hesitation in the back of your mind? If you're like any sane human being, probably going to have some hesitations, right? You're like, something about this doesn't feel right. I'm not sure I'm quite there yet. There's not enough trust built. There's not enough credibility built for you to shell out that kind of money unless you have a lot of money and, you can just afford, you make very impulsive choices. So I hope you can see how if your strategy right now is how do I get everybody on the call, try to sell them in the first 15 minutes. If you have tried that and it's not working, pretty good chances is because the trust and the credibility has not been built. Now, one thing that takes a lot longer to train is to know when a client is ready, when a client is ready to buy. The way I describe it is asking for the sale or asking your client to enroll is a lot like proposing, right? So if you're going to get down on one knee, you have a pretty good idea that the answer is going to be yes. You're not going to get down on one knee and your partner's like, oh, I'll think about it. I'll let you know. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure they're 99% of the way there. You just got to go and ask the question. So a lot of times when we're here, we don't recognize that there isn't enough trust built. We don't recognize that there isn't enough credibility. This person doesn't know me. They don't feel comfortable with me yet. Should I be talking about my price? Should I be telling them about my service? They don't recognize that. So if you want to rush through the process, if you want to rush through, I just want to talk about my pricing, I just want to talk about my program, I don't care if they know me, whatever, then you're playing a numbers game, okay? Which essentially means, let's say you get on 100 calls with people, potential clients, you might close a certain percent. Maybe you'll close 10% of them, and you'll say, well, my process works really well because every time I get people on the call, 10% of them buy. Yeah, but then you're also losing 90 people in that process. Now you got to talk to 100 people in order to sell to 10%, right? So instead of using this mass approach of getting as many people on the call as possible and selling them instantly, what I like to do is taking my time building relationships with people and only offering them a solution if they really require it, okay? So let's forget about the one call approach, because you can see I'm not a huge fan of this approach. If you have, let's say, a huge following, people know you, you're a celebrity, then yes, you want to be efficient with your time because they've already built that trust and credibility with you because you have a social media following. But if you're a new coach, nobody knows anything about you, you need to spend some time building trust. You need to spend some time building credibility, okay? Let's take another example. Let's take a two-call approach, okay? Two-call. I'm a huge fan of this approach. Why? Because it gets rid of the pressure of buying. So let's say you are a fitness coach, right? And you get on the phone with someone and you make it abundantly clear to them, hey, on this call, I just want to talk about you, your challenges, what's going on, to see if I can even help you. I'm not here to sell you anything. Right there, all the pressure that the client might be facing on the phone goes away because they're not expecting to be sold. They're not expecting to be making a buying decision. A lot of people might be getting on the call not even ready to buy. They're not in the frame of buying. They're in the frame of I'm just going to go talk to this person and see what happens, right? So treat the first call like a networking call, okay? Terrible choice of color on my part. It's blending in the background, but you can see it, right? Yeah. So treat the first call as a networking call. So all you're doing is, the only purpose of this call here is, again, to build trust, to build credibility, and most importantly, see if you can even help them with their challenges. Because if you're on the phone with them and you don't even know they have a problem that you can solve, maybe they have a problem bigger than the scope of what you offer, or maybe you think they need someone else's expertise, that is the time for you to explore that. The problem with the one call approach is you're going into the call with a specific agenda of, I'm going to talk to this person and I'm going to sell them. You're not listening to what they're saying because you're so focused on, how do I get the sale? How do I get the sale? How do I get the sale? So once you remove the how do I get the sale bit, and you just say, okay, on this call, I'm going to talk about nothing about my program, nothing about pricing, nothing. I just want to understand what's going on in their life, what challenge they're having. In the process, get to know them. They get to know me. By the end of it, if I decide they have a challenge big enough for us to solve, then we can schedule a second call, and that could be your sales call. Okay, so this could be more of a, let's say, a clarity call or an exploratory call, whatever it might be. And then you can move into a sales call. So the first call, you're just building trust with them. Hey, let me just get to know you, see what's going on. I want to make sure I can help you out. What challenges are you having? What happens with so many people that I get on the phone with, just to understand their challenges, they think they have a very small problem. Okay, it's okay, it's fine, whatever. And then once you talk and you ask them smart questions, they're like, holy crap, this is much bigger than I thought. Can you help me with this? So your job here is to be an expert. It's to ask smart questions to get them to think about what they're doing in their business, what they're not doing in their business, what they're missing out on, that kind of thing. I'll give you a perfect example when it comes to some of my job searching clients. So a lot of people get on the call and say, yeah, I don't have a problem with my job search. I've just got a problem with my resume. Once I fix my resume, we're all good. And then obviously we'll ask, okay, why do you think your resume is the only problem? And they'll say, well, because I'm shooting it in 50 different directions and it's not really going anywhere. So once I fix my resume, my problem is solved, right? So we'll say, okay, how long have you been applying for a job? Well, I've been applying for a year and a half, or I've been applying for a year. Okay, how many responses have you gotten in the past year? Well, I've gotten, I don't know, 3 responses in the past year. All right, how many different resumes have you used for those? Well, I've just used the one resume I have. So with those questions, you can see maybe it's not just a resume problem. Fixing the resume is not going to solve the problem. Maybe the problem is the job searching strategy. What do you think of that? And they'll say, wow, I didn't even think of that. I thought it was just a resume problem. If I could have the right resume, I'll get to the door. But what they don't know is there's a lot of competition. Everybody's applying to the resumes. If you're applying just on the online job applications, your luck is just as good as winning the lottery. These things they don't know. So one very important thing not to do on the first call is to let the client do a self-diagnosis, okay? A self-diagnosis, a word I can't even spell apparently, diagnosis, is akin to a patient walking into the doctor's office and telling them what the problem is. So, hey, doctor, I've got a headache. I'm pretty sure it's a tumor. Give me some medication. I'll be good. Do you think any doctor in the right mind would say, yeah, sure, here's a medication. Go have a good one? No, they're going to be the expert. They'll say, wait, why do you want medication for a tumor? How do you know it's a tumor? How do you know this is a problem? How do you know it's not just a headache? So same thing with your niche, right? If someone says, hey, all I need is a workout plan. If I have a workout plan, I'll get in the best shape of my life. Okay, why do you think it's the workout plan? What about your diet? You start exploring those things. So all you do in the first call is just you ask smart questions. You get them to think about what things they're not considering. By the end of it, you've built trust, you've built credibility, you've asked about their challenges. If there is a challenge there, then you can say, I would love to talk to you more about it. Why don't we schedule another call? On the second call, you can talk about your program. You can talk about how you solve their problem, blah, 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 all that stuff. By that time, they come to the second call. They're already prepared. They're already prepared to buy because you mentioned that in the first call. They already know you're an expert because you took the time to understand their challenges. And this gives you a perfect opportunity to talk about your service. Whereas if they just got on a call with you, they don't even know who you are. And right away, you're pitching your product, you look like a salesperson. Nobody wants to be sold by a salesperson. Everybody wants to buy, don't get me wrong, but no one wants to be sold, okay? So don't come across sleazy. See if there's a challenge, talk to them. If there's a challenge, great. If there's not a challenge, that's fine. Leave it as is. Second call, you do your sales approach. Now, even this approach, I don't want you to take this as set in stone. Why? Because different people have different cycles of making decisions, all right? I'll explain it through a very quick diagram. So let's say we have this little diagram here. We'll make some lines. A lot of your clients will fall in this range, the 95% of people who have not made a decision, okay? So they haven't made a decision of whether they want to buy something yet. 5% of people, and again, this is a rough estimate, have made a decision. So let's say you are a public speaking coach. Not a lot of people will wake up and say, I need a public speaking coach right now. 5% is probably where that falls down, especially if you're offering something that's more of a luxury. Like public speaking is something that people don't need, right? Job searching is a lot more of a necessity because they need to have a job. So think about all these stages, right? So here you have no interest. They have absolutely no interest, okay? Then you move into awareness. Then you move into curiosity. Then you move into education. Then you move into alternatives. And then yes, no. Okay. What does this mean essentially? So suppose you're talking to some people, right? These people on the first call, they might be at this stage here where they have no interest or they don't even know they want it. They're like, oh, well, yeah, maybe I do need to know more about your service and fitness, but, I'm following some YouTube videos. I'm okay. They might not even know they're interested yet. So when you're talking to them, the idea is to move them up this ladder to making them aware of your service, making them curious about how you solve this problem, how you've done in the past, educating them on what alternatives are out there, what other options are out there. And eventually they're like, yeah, you know what? I do need this. So notice most people that you talk to will fall in this 95% range. So if you expect everybody who's getting on the call with you to be here and they know exactly what they want and they want it now, you're not going to have a lot of luck selling people. Most people you'll be talking to will be in this range. So it's your responsibility to take as much time possible taking that up the ladder. What gives this more momentum? You have your trust and you have credibility. Again, established through our first call. And obviously, if you can share some client results, that gets them curious as well, okay? So you can see how a lot of people you'll be talking to will be down here. They don't know about you. They don't know about your service. There's so many people I get on the phone where they're like, wait, you're saying I can make money doing career coaching? I had no idea I could even do that. They weren't even aware this was a space, right? So it's not like they didn't have a problem. It's like they didn't even know what the possibility was. So your job is just to educate them, just to tell them, hey, have you considered doing this? I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just saying, have you considered doing it? And then you ask them enough smart questions, they become curious. They're like, okay, I'm really curious about what you do. You've asked me some really good questions. You've gotten me thinking, how do you help me? How do you help people do that? Now you're not selling anything, but because you ask smart questions, you put yourself in a position where you can solve somebody's problem. Then you can book another call, that kind of thing. The reason I mention this is because sometimes it negates even the two-call approach, okay? Not everybody can make a decision about what they want to do, whether they trust you, whether they're ready, whether they have the money within a two-call approach. So you have to be very cognizant of this. This is something I teach my clients regularly. Be cognizant of how they feel, how they speak. Don't use any sales tactics if they're not ready to buy. Even if you get the money out of them, a week later, they'll ask you for a refund because they're like, I thought about it. I'm sure your program is great, but I'm not really interested, that kind of thing. So you want to make sure when you get them to enroll, they're 100% ready to commit and work with you. And by the way, if you're watching this, please let me know if the audio is good and everything's good. I want to make sure that this is making sense. Sometimes I go too fast. I talk about too many things. Let me know in the comments. So recognizing that a lot of people you'll be talking to will probably be actually in this region here, not aware. They don't know what you offer. They don't even know what the possibilities are. Your job here is only to nurture them, okay? So just to nurture them, provide them with more opportunities to learn about what you do, what's possible with their business, so you build trust over time. Now, I'll give you a great example, okay? One of the clients that I have, her name is Sammy Walker Herrera, so she's also a career coach. She works at one of the universities as a career advisor, right? So when I was reaching out to her for the first time, I was creating my program for the first time. I wanted to do research about, hey, listen, what do people look for in a program when they're starting their own career coaching business? Like what would be very challenging for them? What's a good goal to have? That kind of thing. I talked to her for the first time. She was very happy in her job. Everything was fantastic. Everything's going well. Didn't need my help. Great. That's fine. There was nothing to sell at the time. It's like, fantastic. Thank you so much for helping me out with the information. Now, what happens there is, think of yourself kind of like the sun, okay? Actually, not like the sun, the earth. Yeah, you fucked up my diagram now. Just suppose this is the earth, okay? Like this looks like the earth. There you go. This is the earth. Every single person you talk to, they're going to be in your orbit now. So let's say you've done all these networking calls, you're adding all these people to your orbit. What's going to happen is when you start creating content, you start making content around what they talked about, they start moving around in your orbit and they start getting closer and closer and closer because now they have curiosity about what you do. They're following your content. So let's say you put out a video or you make a webinar or something of that sort. They'll be like, okay, well, I talked to him about this. I've been following his content for quite a while. He talks good sense about all these topics. I want to learn more about this. I want to learn more about how he does it. So let's say I make a webinar, okay? And this is exactly what happened with Sammy. I didn't think she was a good fit for my program at all because it didn't sound like she needed it, right? So eventually I hosted a webinar teaching people how to start their coaching business from scratch. And I was surprised to see that Sammy attended the webinar. So she watched it. She got a lot of value out of it. She booked a call with me and said, Yasir, I've watched your webinar. I watched all these things. I'm intrigued. I want to do it. Let's do it. So I didn't push the process on her. She took her time to get comfortable with me, took her time to understand about what I'm doing. She was in my orbit, absorbing my content over time, watched my webinar, built, again, enough trust and credibility with me that when we got on the call the second time, she felt very comfortable joining the program. Had I gotten on the first call with her, where she had no intention of buying, no interest in what I was offering. And I said, hey, Sammy, my program is this much. Let's buy it. I think you could use it. You could start your business. She would not be interested because I'm forcing the decision on her. It's not her own decision to join, which is why it's so important to be cognizant of what level, where they are in the journey with you. Okay, how much do they trust you? How much do they need with you? I've had clients who've joined my program now who I've known for 6 months or a year. They didn't buy anything from me, and that's fine. But then they'll try things out themselves. They'll look at other coaches. They'll be following my content. They'll be like, Yasir, you know what? I think I've been trying this for a while. It's not really working. I think I'd like your help. Then they're comfortable. They get on a call with you, and eventually they enroll into your process. So there's no specific time of how long should it take, okay? Depending on where you find your clients. So let's say you get on a call with some people and you find them here in this space. You're like, oh my God, I'm so ready. I'm so excited. I want to get started with my job search right now. I want to get started with my gym thing right now. Congratulations. You found yourself a unicorn. You found someone who's ready to go right now. Make it a one-call close because it sounds like they're very trusty of you. They think you're credible. They think you can help them. By all means, there's no reason to elongate the process if that's the case. But if you feel there's certain hesitations they have, they're not really trusting you, or they don't really know what possibilities are out there, then take your time to build it, okay? There's nothing saying that you've got to sell somebody. You've got to sell somebody. I disqualify so many people who get on a call with me so many times because they say, Yasir, I want to start a business in life coaching. I'm like, okay, great. Why do you want to do life coaching? Well, because I think there's a lot of money in it, but I don't want to do it for the next 2 or 3 years. So I'll tell them right there, listen, if you want to start a business for just a couple of years, I'm probably not the one you want to work with because I help people really brand themselves in things they want to do for the rest of their life. If you're going to pivot a year after that, we're going to start a whole business, build a whole brand. And once that brand gets going, then we're going to do a complete detour and do that all over again. That's going to be too much work for you, too much work for me. And it's going to be very frustrating along the way because you're not doing something you enjoy doing. When you say things like that, when you answer questions like that, people build more trust and credibility because they know you don't care about the money, you care about the results you get. And I'll tell them, listen, I'm not going to take a penny from you unless I know the kind of business you're trying to pursue fits your values, my values, and I can actually help you with this. So again, this takes time. Sometimes people get on a call with me and say, I'm sure I want to start a business now. And I'll ask them some questions about why they want to do it. They'll say, well, I don't really want to do it. It's just because of the money, or I want to do it for the next year. In the next 2 years, I want to do something else entirely. So I'll say, why don't we just skip this part and get straight to what you want to do? I'll say, oh, okay, I never really thought about that. So we have to take time to build this trust. If I just said, okay, by this time, it's a one-call approach, it's a two-call approach, I expect you to know exactly what you want to do. Some people just aren't there. So one of the things I really, really go into depth with my clients is I teach them how to recognize this, how to recognize whether there's any red flags, whether it's a better time. So let's say someone gets on a call with you and says, I really want to get my fitness back into check. I really want to get in the best shape of my life. And you said, fantastic, let's do it. Let's get started. And then they're like, well, actually, I don't really have enough time. I'm moving between houses. I'll let you know. My wife is, all this stuff is happening. I'll do it later. Later, they'll forget about it. They won't reach out to you. There's no value there. Instead, what you say is there anything going on right now in your life that's a higher priority than doing this? Do you have enough time to do this? They say, yeah, you know what, I don't have enough time, blah, blah. That's a good opportunity for you to disqualify them. Say, listen, I get it. I get you don't have a lot of time, but if you're working with me on a fitness plan, if you're working with me on a job search plan, and you don't have time, I don't think this is going to work. Maybe we should touch base in a month from now. So you see how if I rush through that process and I try to sell them something, then they'll say, well, I can't do it because I don't have time. But if I take the time and say, listen, I get you don't have the time. I get you don't have the money right now. Let's just touch base when you do. That way, first of all, they'll trust you because you're not trying to get their money. You'll be credible. You're giving them good advice. That's good for them. Eventually, they'll go back. They'll think about whatever they want. Once they're ready, then they'll come back. Yasir, thank you so much for giving me time to think about it. I really thought about it. Now I have the time. Now I have the money. This is what I want to do with my business. Can you help me out? And it becomes the easiest sale of your life. Okay. So when it comes to the whole sales cycle, I hope I explained this well enough. Don't get so fixated on 1 call, 2 call, 3 call, 4 call. The experience will teach you that sometimes you need to recognize where people are, both through their feelings, through their internal circumstances, external circumstances. What is going on in their life? Can they afford to work with you right now? Is it in their best interest to work with you right now? Is there enough trust and credibility built? Because if not, elongate your sales process, build more trust with people. So by the time they get on a call with you, they feel comfortable. Okay. So I hope this was helpful for you. I'm going to try to make more videos around this subject. I know the sales cycle thing, I can talk about the subject alone for hours on end. If there's one thing I want you to take away is do not rush for the sale. At the same time, remember, you'll be just fine without making the sale. You don't have the sale yet. If you don't have the sale, you'll still be fine. Okay. How can you lose something you don't have? People keep saying, well, I lost the sale. No, you didn't lose something. You didn't have the sale. How do you lose something you don't have? Right. So think about that. Take the time to understand people's problems. Believe me, nobody will ever say, I'm so angry that you took more time to understand my situation. Nobody's ever going to say that, right? Take time to understand people's situations, see if they're comfortable enough, they feel good, they like what you have to offer, they actually have the problem. This is something I'm going to have to make a whole separate video about, is prescribing a solution before there's a problem. Like you'll talk to people and they'll say, well, actually my fitness is pretty good, my diet's really good, blah, 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 all that's great. And then the coach will be like, yeah, I see that everything's going well, but here's my service anyway. Here's my program. Here's my price. Well, why are you telling them the price? Why are you telling them about the program? They don't need it. And then they'll say, well, yeah, I talked about it, but then I told them the price and they weren't interested. Well, no, it's not the price that's the problem. The problem is they just didn't need what you were offering. So it's kind of like going into a patient goes into a doctor's office, says, hey, I feel great today. I feel much better than yesterday. What is the doctor going to say? Well, you know what you could also use? Let's just throw a surgery on it just in case. Like, why? I don't need it. I'm good. I don't care if the surgery is $1,000, $500, $200. I just don't need it. These things take you time to recognize, which is why when I do role plays with my clients, we really teach them, how do you identify what the client is saying? How do you identify what they're feeling in the body? How much trust you have built with them, okay? Again, I'll make more live streams on this. All of these live streams are specifically for you. I'm doing them completely for free out of my own time, so please take advantage of me. Let me know, what topics would you like to see? What can I do to teach you to make more money in your business? I don't want you to make $100 an hour anymore. I want you to make some real money in the $1,000 range, so you can do whatever you want, go out bike riding, parasailing, whatever the heck you want to do, and you don't have to stare at a screen for 40 hours. Let me know how I can help you, how I can best serve you, okay? I hope this was helpful for you. If it is, please let me know. Like the post, check the description for more information. I will see you in the next live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in.